We have Katie Blunt from UEN, Education Network. If you're not familiar with UEN, you should be. Talking to people from other states, there's no other state that has an entity like UEN that supports education, educators like Utah does. So Utah is like leading the way in having people like UEN who support us in school, especially us in rural Utah, rural districts who need additional support and help. So they're a great resource to have. Known Katie for a few years now. It's great to work with. We're going to turn over to her talking about some good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandon. It's good to be here with you. So I'll say for some of you who have been around a little longer, some of this may be familiar, but I found as an educator that I often forgot and kind of put it aside, so I think the reminder will be good. And then if you're new, get ready and get excited, because basically I'm just going to tell you where all the free stuff is. So as Brandon said, this is me. I am the eMedia product manager at UEN, and I'll tell you about eMedia in just a little bit, and I'm also one of our senior trainers. So let's move on forward. Just if you're not super familiar with the Utah Education Network, UEN, I wanted to give you just a little bit of information of who we are, what we do. So we are a legislatively funded organization. We support all public and charter schools in the state from K-12, that's my bigger focus, but also into higher ed. And everything that we offer you is free because it's already paid for by the state, okay? So this slide gives you a little bit of an idea of on the PD side, so I'm part of our professional development team, the types of tools and resources that we provide support for. Today we are going to focus in on Utah's online school library, and but it's nice to know kind of all these other things that exist in kind of our realm. So in addition to a professional development team, we also have a team that procures state pricing, so consortium pricing, for tools like Nearpod, Canvas, Adobe Creative Cloud throughout the state. And so the reason that your districts can get some better prices is because we pull everybody together as a state. We also have a web services team, and they provide the internet backbone that goes throughout the state for all education, public and charter education institutions, for all public libraries, and for all telehealth centers. So that's another thing that UEN does. And then, as I said, we've got the professional development piece of things. So in addition to just kind of procuring and supporting some of the tools, we also have a lot of professional development resources available. This is just a glimpse at some of the topics that we cover in our courses. So you are welcome to join for free any of the courses that we have available as well. So real quickly, let me show you the UEN website. So it is simply uen.org, uen.org. And it went to where it remembered that I was before. Sorry, there we go. There's the home page. And so I encourage you, if you're not familiar with UEN and all that it offers, go through the the tabs across the top of this website, and you'll find the key resources and things that UEN can provide. To highlight a few, when you go to this first tab for pre-K-12 education, there's right there a teacher toolbox, which some may not as directly apply, of course, to you, but a lot of it still will. The Utah core standards are listed there, and I think a really nice, friendly way to look at them. So especially as a lot of you are working with a lot of different grade levels and subject areas as you support teachers and students, that's kind of a nice reference to be able to go to. I'm going to go over here to professional development. So after this, if you forget how to get a hold of me if you need anything, you can always come to the professional development tab and click on my picture there. They made the background black, so it looks a little funny, but there I am. And you can email me and contact me. But this also gives you an overview of the tools that we support, again. And then notice on the left side, you can request a presentation, you can register for a course, things like that. So this is a great tab for you to be aware of. I also want to point out in this second column here that we have what's labeled here tech discussions or productions that are helpful as well. Yeah?
So Kate, I'd just like to also add there that Brandon, who UETN helps fund at the Q's office, can also be contacted to do a lot of these things.
Yes, true. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and we work in partnership with them, and oftentimes what happens is if you contact Brandon, then he will say, yeah, we've got a person here, Chris can come right out. Or, you know what, you've got a bigger thing going on, or my people are all booked. Let's get Katie. So yeah, good point. It's always great to go to Q's as well. And so you can check out these basically on-demand PD resources as well. I host UEN PD TV. We go into teachers' classrooms and show the great things we're doing. And then the Homeroom podcast covers a lot of interesting topics and issues in education today. And I know that they have had some focus on the discussion that you were just having with Davina as well. So you can browse through those episodes. And then, as you can see, we also support the public television station, channel 9.1, and there's programming there and all sorts of information if you want more about the network, etc. So there's your brief overview of UEN. And then, yes, I think it's a very good important point to make that we work in conjunction with the service centers throughout the state. All right. With that, one of the biggest resources that we support is the online school library. So recently, the name has been changed from just Utah's Online Library to Utah's Online School Library. So if you still see some places where the school's not there, it's because it's a relatively new switch. Basically, the reason for that is just to clarify that this library is especially curated for K-12, whereas the state's online library and the public online library is for the whole community, parents, adults, all of that. And so this is really the place that you want to go and that you want your teachers to go to and your students to go to for research. So you can see the URL right here is simply onlinelibrary.uen.org. And if you give them that URL, there is another way to get there, then that also helps ensure that they get to the school library as opposed to the public online library. So, what is it? Basically, the online school library is a nonprofit public service. Again, that means free. Free resources, everything from databases to encyclopedias to online newspapers, all sorts of things to help with research projects. And you really are, obviously in addition to the curators and the keeper of the books, you are the research experts in your schools as well. And if teachers aren't coming to you for that kind of help, or where should we go to research this, then you can be the person that goes out and tells them, do you know this is here? I heard you say that you're doing a big science report. Have you gone onto the online library to get some resources? So we'll dig in a little bit and take a look, but first let's just kind of talk about accounts and things like that. So who can use the library? You can see there, teachers, students, parents. So The Utah Education Network licenses a lot of the databases that are in the online school library. And so what that means is that it's really only licensed for Utah K-12 educators, students, and parents, families. So when you are at your school or on your school's Wi-Fi network, you and your students will be automatically logged into this generic account that gives you open access to everything in the online library. Okay, it recognizes that you're at a school. When the students go home, when you go home, it does require a login to access all of those resources. The login for you is the same login that you would use for your MyUEN account. So again, you can open a new tab and go to my.uen.org. And if you've been around for a little while, you may recognize this and think, oh yeah, I think I have an account here. But if not, that's okay too. It's where we used to kind of have little educator websites and things. Teachers will recognize it as the place they probably go to look up their cactus ID, their teacher ID. But if you have an account, but it's been a long time since you've been in it, you can see there's a forgot login on the bottom right there. If you don't have an account, on the left there you can create one. And as long as you use your educator email address, so the one that has either your district or school, name in it, then you will be able to get your free MyUEN account. If it's been a while, you might want to log in and even update your email address. I know when I first started, it had just like my Gmail address. That's no longer going to recognize you as a Utah educator. So you'll want to make sure that it's updated to your Utah educator email address. Okay, so you can definitely try that right now if you'd like to. In fact, when we get to eMedia portion of today, it's helpful to be logged in. But if you're having any trouble with it, don't panic. Just click on the help button that's in the upper right-hand corner there. You can send a little message to our team, and it may take them a couple days to get back and kind of get your account squared away. So it's okay if it's giving you a little trouble at first. But I wanted to point that out. So when you go home, this is how you would log in. Same login name and password for the online library. And actually, if you want all of the teacher access, you can even log in with that when you're at school as well. So, okay, I'm going to pause. Any questions? Just generally about where you would go to get all this set. Yeah.
So you said when you're at home you need to log in with this. How about for students?
Yeah, that's my next topic. So perfect question. Good. Okay. So side note, you come here to my.uen.org to get everything squared away with your account, but you don't actually have to come here then after that to log in. When you are at home and you go to onlinelibrary.uen.org, it will prompt you to log in here. It's just that that's the account that you will use. Okay, so let's go to that question then. So when you are logged in as an educator, you will notice that at the bottom of onlinelibrary.uen.org, there is home access information. This does not show up when you're not logged in. So when you or the students are at school, they can see this, they can write it down, they can utilize it. And then as soon as they're not on the school Wi-Fi, they need to know that to log in. So all parents and students will use this as their login and password. The password changes once a year, usually in the fall before the new school year, or end of the summer, I should say. And then Brandon has just piles and piles and piles of online library information cards and bookmarks that he would love for you to take today. Got a couple samples here. In fact, He said each of you could take a whole stack for every one of your teachers and you'd probably still have more left. So the only thing I'll say about these is that they don't have the school in them because they were published before that change. But the information is still good. And then on the back side of each of the bookmarks, it has the login, which is online, and then it's blank for the password. So before handing these out, you or the teachers that you're working with need to write in research for this year. If there's a chance you're not going to use all these up this year, leave some blank so that then you can write in whatever next year's is as well, okay? All right, so Brandon's got a whole bunch of these for you to take today. All right, good.
Thousands of them.
Thousands and thousands. Please get them out of his office or take them off his hands. All right, good. Any other questions just about the login information? Yes?
How come sometimes at school, the kids still have to log in? I used it before and I used like 3 or 4 kids.
Do ya?
To type it in.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen. All I can say is maybe it's some funky thing with whatever IP address their computer has connected to. It's for some reason not identifying the network it's on. Don't know. But it's good to know that at least it's the same for every student if that happens. Okay. Chromebooks are you using Chromebooks? iPads. Oh, well, that could be. They kind of grab whatever address they can. It still doesn't really make sense. It shouldn't happen, but if it does. Okay, if you find it a lot, talk to your IT people and say, why is this not recognizing that it's on the district network? Okay, good. All right, good. Okay, so now that we kind of understand all of that part, let's talk about why we might use the online school library. So the databases that are part of the library are, a little different than just sending kids out to go do a Google search where they're going to find anything and everything under the sun from every source possible. It's instead a curated library of, as it says, credible resources. It's accessible 24/7, it is free, and it is filtered for K-12. And so all of those are reasons that this is a much better place, at least to start, than just saying, okay, go ahead and Google your topic, see what happens. It's also a really good opportunity for you to talk to the students about media literacy and what does it mean that these are credible resources. What's the difference? And so this can help you talk it up to the students and teachers. So in addition to the databases that are in the online library, you'll see in a moment, there are also several other tools and things that can help students not just conduct research, but also even a few tools that will help them put that research together into a report or a presentation or some kind of multimedia project. So we'll explore some of those. All right, now this says secondary. Don't worry, I know some of you aren't. The examples I have in here are secondary, but I'm going to show you where there are lots of different levels. So let's go back here to the online school library. I highly encourage you to open up your laptops and Chromebooks if they're not open yet, and let's play around a little and do some searching. So when you first get here to this site, I want to point out that in the upper right-hand corner, they're not maybe quite as big and obvious, but there are links to support materials, classroom activities that can help you guide students, especially the first couple of times through the online library, including some Nearpod presentations that you could break up into some chunks and help the students, or frankly, even if you're doing a teacher PD, to understand what's in the library. But then, of course, the big chunk is down here. And if it's been a while since you've been in the library, it does look a little different. It had a little facelift. And so the main reason for that is because educators really wanted it to be very clear how to get to the level that was most appropriate for their age of students. So it's very clearly divided into elementary, middle, and high now. So I'm going to click on middle, just to kind of be in that middle ground here. But I would like you to go ahead and click on whatever your grade level is. And let's take a look. Generally, the layout will be the same for each of the grade levels, but the tools might vary slightly, okay? Each of these collections are going to have the reference collection, Utah-specific resources, and then just general resources that aren't necessarily licensed, but they're good ones that are out on the web. Okay, so we'll start with our reference collection. So, the databases and encyclopedias take up the bulk of this section. So, for example, EBSCO, Gale, and Digital Science Online are kind of the three big databases to conduct research. We did recently discontinue the license for 2 of the Gale products, and they will be reevaluated again, but I gave myself a little screenshots here so I could remember which ones they were. So if you're looking for Gale in Context High School and Gale in Context Global Issues, those 2 are not part of our subscription anymore, and we'll see if they determine to renew them with the next round. But you can see we still have a lot of other Gale reference libraries. Then you can see that we've got World Book Online encyclopedias. Still a nice reference, but of course, it's going to contain those kind of simple articles like an encyclopedia does, whereas the databases are going to have articles, books, images, audio, all sorts of things. I want to point out as well that, well, you can see there are a couple of Spanish ones, so that's cool. Scribble right here is our newest tool in the online school library, and it is particularly helpful for our secondary librarians. I had some elementary teachers kind of check it out, but I think that the built-in tools that I'm going to show you are a little better for elementary, but that Scribble by far is better for secondary. Scribble, we're not going to, that's a whole other training, which we could do for you at some point, right, Chris and Brendan? And it's awesome. I'm not going to go into every detail, but I just want you to know what it is. It is a resource that helps students gather all of the research that they are doing and organize it with notes and citations and put all the resources in folders, and they can collaborate with classmates, and it even ties into Google Docs where then students can actually write up reports and instantly pull in quotations and citations and all sorts of things. Yeah, it's amazing. So definitely check it out, and even if you don't go to training with one of us, there are actually a lot of video resources available to help you with Scribble. I can show you some places to find that. Sounds Abound is the other one that's a little different, and this is where I was saying it's kind of more of a tool to help with presentations. It is a library of openly licensed audio files. And real quickly, let's click on it. You're welcome to click on anything while I'm talking, by the way. But when we click on Sounds Abound, because we logged into the school library first, this will just have us be logged in. If it's been a while since you've looked at Sounds Abound, it has changed its look as well. And basically, you are able to search for titles, keywords, styles, genres of music. Recently, it's that we've had this big wave of podcasting coming back over the last couple of years. It's like it was there and then it went away and now it's back with a vengeance. having students take the research that they've done and then do a podcast episode is a super cool way for them to show what they have learned. And this is a great resource then for all the fun kind of sound effects and background music and things like that that they could put in it. And most of them, some of them are kind of funny sounding, but anyway, you can feel free to click play on. I don't have my sound turned on, but anyway, they've got variations, a lot of times 15-second, 30-second, 60-second variations of the same songs and things like that. Yeah.
Did your screen just go down?
Oh, it did that when it was, oh, no, it did. It just came out. Let's see. I'm hearing sounds. That's great. Okay. I'll try not to bump it. Apparently didn't want me to do that. All right. So that's a cool one to kind of explore. So feel free. Let me point out one more, and then we're going to dive into the databases. Up here is Culturegrams, and I believe the Culturegrams is in all levels. I would have to double check on high school. Is it in high school? Okay, perfect. So this one is still a database, but it's organized a lot differently in that it just has cultural facts and information from around the world. I taught 6th grade, and it's funny, it went kind of extra wide when it came back in. That's okay. We'll be okay. You can see it on your screens. But anyway, and this was perfect for when we did our country reports because we studied countries around the world. You can see for 5th grade, there's a states edition that is super cool. If you're Canadian, there's a province edition. Anyway, and the ones that we're not quite seeing, world edition, yeah, okay. Oh, it's like done some weird splitting thing. I'm gonna unplug and plug back in. I see it's like half over there, yeah. Let's see if we can clean that up. Anyway, if you click and explore throughout Culturegrams, what you'll find is that there's a kid version and then there's kind of a regular version, but either way, there are maps and photos, yay, and songs and recipes and all sorts of things from all around whatever area of the world you've chosen. And another cool thing is that as they're creating reports and things like that, in Utah for 4th grade, right? And 8th, does 8th have Utah studies too? Anyway. All of the images and things that you can find here already have citations right underneath them that students can then copy and put right into their reports and projects and things like that. So, all right.
Katie?
Yes.
Not to mention on Culturegrams, you can use charts and maps to compare different states, countries, and look at any statistic, from demographics to cost of living to death rates. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. This was my favorite database when I was teaching. I agree. It's very cool. And it's organized in a way that's pretty fun and the kids love to explore it. Cool. All right. I know this is like speed round with online library, but okay, now let's take a deeper dive like I said, into these more robust databases. I'm going to go into Gale in Context Middle, but you can of course go into elementary or the high school versions. And as you can see, in each of these, and EBSCO, by the way, is very similar, okay? You've got just a general keyword search in the corner up there. So a student can come right here, type in whatever their topic is, and get started. And of course, you and their teachers can help with like search terms and how big do we go and how specifically do we go and all of those great skills. And then of course, you can see they also highlight different topics throughout these sites, okay? So, we, again, in addition to the keyword search, we can also come in here and kind of choose something from one of these categories as well, okay? So if we kind of narrow down, either by a keyword search or as you saw, I was clicking on topics. Please click on whatever topic kind of strikes your interest. You can see that again, here's the main difference. This is not just one type of resource like the other things we were looking at. You've got all kinds of things. And under this topic of air pollution, we've got 70 references, 5 biographies, whoa, over 3,700 magazine articles, images, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that they can then dive into. So if I go to, let's go to magazines and kind of check it out. Then you can kind of see lots and lots of resources. You can sort them in different ways, either relevance or maybe they want like the most recent information. Lots of ways to do that. And then you can kind of click into a specific article. So this is where I wanted to point out, if you and your students want to just utilize Gale tools, built into each of the documents or articles that pull up are some helpful tools. There is a citation tool up here at the top. If we go across this part here, there is a way to send the article to somebody else, to download, to print, etc. Notice I can also click on highlights and notes and see anything I've highlighted, which I haven't done yet. And then as we come down to the article itself, there are some helpful things for you and the teachers right here. It's going to tell you what kind of document it is, how long it is. Content and lexile measurements are pretty helpful. In some of them, especially in Gale for elementary, you can actually even click to change from a level 1 to a level 2 text complexity on the same exact article. And that's really nice when teachers need articles for like closed readings and things in the classroom and they want students to be able to access it. So that's helpful. More sharing tools here. And then built into Gale, you have some accessibility features, okay? So translation, sweet. So if you've got any dual language classrooms or just students who speak different languages, font size can be changed, display options, so for students who do better with, you know, the dark background and things like that, and then the read aloud feature. Okay, and again, feel free to click on yours. We will not mind if we start hearing little articles being read. Mine sounds off at the moment. So lots of resources there. And then I can come in and as I read through the article, I can actually, you know, click and drag or double click or whatever sections of the article itself. I can highlight it, and this is again another opportunity for you to teach some strategies for gathering research. Maybe they start to notice some trends in like subtopics, things like that, and so they could maybe decide, you know what, I'm going to do highlights in yellow that I think are going to contribute to my introduction, or, you know, or that are on this subtopic. Teachers can use this, again, in closed readings. It could be as simple as they're trying to help their students find descriptive language that they're going to highlight in one color. And so there's some kind of helpful things there. So I can choose the color. I can define the word, helpful. And I can add notes, not votes, notes about whatever I've highlighted. And now that I've done that, if I come back up here, you'll notice that there is now something here when I go to highlights and notes, okay? And it'll show me all the different things I've highlighted and the notes I've taken. Now, I think that's really, really awesome. But the built-in tools, once the kids kind of go away from the article, are not going to stay, especially if they're just on the generic student account, doesn't know who they are, and so can't really save it forever. So it's really cool for when they're working in that article until they go away from the article. That's why Scribble, especially when you're getting into media research projects in secondary, is better, because all that same stuff exists and a ton more, and it will save it to their account, okay? But notice that a student can export to Google Drive, email, etc., this article before they navigate away from it. And so if I, for example, save this to my Google Drive, then I've got the article and I've got all of the cool stuff that I've highlighted there with it. So, and I believe it saves it all. So, all right, I'm going to go down to the bottom, point out a couple more tools. Well, before I do, this is kind of cool too, especially for a research project. You know, related subjects that they could branch off in or narrow down to, okay? And then usually, as we go down, there is more information. We had some of these tools at the top, but we can kind of see them more clearly here. So you can actually see what the source citations look like in the different formats offered. And then there are more export options here as well. And so, by the way, if you're familiar with the online library and you're used to Noodle tools, that subscription for this date has not been renewed. Scribble is the new Noodle tools. And anyway, the reason you don't see Scribble listed here for export is because Scribble actually kind of works the other way around. It pulls things into its library instead of having things exported to it. So. Okay.
So I have a question.
Yes.
You have to be in Scribble then to have any of that stuff saved into Scribble. Like you can't export anything from here into Scribble.
No, so what I would do is log into Scribble first. And if you're not familiar with Scribble, you create different research libraries within Scribble. So log in, click on the library you want the resource to go to. Then come here, and it actually operates through a Chrome extension. And so if I'm on this article and I launch the Scribble Chrome extension, it will automatically add this page to my Scribble library. Okay, good. Other thoughts, questions? Yeah, Chris.
Katie, where's Topic Finder now? I was trying to look for it the other day. That was one of my favorite tools.
Yeah. I just have topics of interest, browse topics. Oh, the one that had the cool, yeah, I am not positive. That was a good question.
Okay, go on, I'll keep looking.
Yeah, see if you find it.
Yeah.
So there was this really cool visual way. So I pointed out on the side of the article, it had related topics. Topic Finder is this cool graphic representation of, you've got your main topic in the middle and then it shows everything that it could branch out to. And we're finding that it's not where we usually found it, so Chris is going to search for it and see if we can find it.
It would give the kids other words. So
Yeah.
instead of searching for that one word,
And they could kind of branch out. Okay, we'll see if we can find it again, because I'm not seeing it either. All right, questions? Okay. All right. So has anybody been kind of exploring and browsing other topics that you know your students are interested in and want to share with us anything you've found? Nice, hiking sites in Severe County. There you go. Yeah, and actually, on that point, I'm going to take you back to the online library for a second. And if you don't find things like that in here, in these large databases, you can go on down to Utah Resources and get some more area-specific things, information about counties of Utah, which again, 4th grade is very helpful. There are digital newspapers. So first of all, there's current news, Deseret News, for example. But if you go into the Utah, did you find it? Okay, I'm gonna come back to you in just a second. If you go into the Utah digital newspapers, it actually has archives of local newspapers from all around the state. So then you could look up and see, okay, is there anything from Sevier County, any local papers? And Danny, who is actually the product manager over the online library, had searched her grandmother's name in the local Salt Lake paper. It was some little one. Anyway, she found her grandmother's picture in some article about how she won like the Miss, I don't know, Sheep Days or something pageant. So there's some really cool stuff there as well. All right, and because you were willing to answer and speak up, oh boy, prizes worth pennies. We kicked off a fun back to school initiative, and we've got the ultimate guide for teachers. So this is the notebook that goes with it and the crazy new pens that we have. And everybody loves stickers, right? So when you go on your hike and you take your water bottle, you can put an online library sticker on it. Thank you. All right, okay, tell us. So where do we go for our topic finder?
Do you want to, am I?
You go ahead.
I didn't
Crystal
repeat
is,
your-
okay.
So, as a search, so if you're in, go back to like.
To Gail.
Uh-huh. Go there and then click on advanced search
Aha,
and you have topic finder.
Oh, yeah, there's another place.
there
That
it
was
is.
my workflow.
And what topic
So
did you search?
I searched for Shakespeare because I wanted to see what level I could get out of that.
Yeah,
And you have tiles or will option.
and which did you like?
I played with both, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty cool looking
I mean,
too.
this is beautiful, but the will is a little more organized.
Yeah.
Like it was a little more.
Yeah.
And then
That's
you just
super
click,
cool.
click, into
Yeah,
all
so if
sorts
you
of things.
click,
So
click
how
on
did you
one
get
so
there?
can see the articles on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, so if we actually go to the Shakespeare Company, it shows us highlights of that part of the wheel. And then I could zoom in and do the Royal Shakespeare Company and get more specific. Or it could just be, you know, let's just do English writers in general, specifically, let's do actors. Yeah,
But
Cool.
it really helps kids to help refine keywords rather
Yeah.
than just bears, right?
Yeah.
You know? But if you go back to just the regular Gale and go back one page, go back to where it shows all the Gale. So you might have to go back to the Utah.
here.
Yeah, and then go back to Gale. And, because I've never noticed this before until just now. So you have to go back to the one where it shows all the different Gales. There's
Well,
one
I'm
that
in-
says power surge.
Oh.
The one that says high school.
Oh, see, I'm in middle school.
Oh, yeah, there you go, yeah. Go into high school.
Okay.
And then there's one that said power search on mine. Oh, maybe I didn't know which one I was on.
Is it the collection for high school?
There you go, yeah, power
Okay,
search.
power
There
search.
you go.
Yeah.
And I never noticed that. You can search all the databases at
Cool.
once. And then topic finder's right there.
And the topic finder is,
Let's scroll down a little bit. There you go.
So topic finders the
Yeah.
keyword.
right here.
But I've
Yeah.
never seen where you could search all
Cool.
of the Gale databases at once. It's
Cool.
all right there. So-
It looks to me like that's only high school, but that's super
Yeah.
cool. And did you also notice high school actually has access to the other two databases too? So if you need those kind of different reading levels and things like that. Whereas elementary doesn't really show the others.
Yeah.
Thank you, excellent. Okay, well, I mean, you can see how you could go on and on and on in the online library because there's so many cool things to explore. We didn't even really touch the fact that there are more resources in the Utah section and that there are all sorts of these general resources as well. So I hope you'll dive in and take a good look. Now, I'm going to shift gears here for a second, or for the rest of our little time together. And let's talk about one specific resource, which it is technically part of the online library and the subscriptions and things that we have there. But I'm going to talk to you about eMedia. It is an online database, but where all the things that we've been looking at so far are really student-facing resources, where you can help the students really dive in and research topics. eMedia instead is mostly teacher-facing, although certainly students and parents could go in there and look for things. There are resources that they could use as well. And in addition to being teacher-facing, it is not just research topics. Instead, it is a database of teaching resources, okay? So, real quick explanation here. eMedia is an open education resource database. OER stands for Open Educational Resources. And OERC, the C is Commons. So there's this basically big nationwide database of open educational resources for teachers called OER Commons, okay? Utah has a sub-site or a microsite within this big umbrella called eMedia. And we have curated and continue to curate all sorts of teaching resources with a Utah lens. So there are actually, I'm going to go past that. There are actually 3 types of resources, or 3 categories of resources in eMedia. The middle one there is what I've been talking about, openly licensed resources. So in other words, someone somewhere, some educator, has created something and believes that information and teaching resources should be free. So they've assigned it a Creative Commons license as opposed to a very restrictive copyright license, which I know we all are at least familiar with. Okay? And so this is a curation, a collection of these. But UEN also pays for some licensed content. So in eMedia, you will also find licensed content, and that is why, in order to see everything in eMedia, you will once again want to be able to log in with your My UEN account. Same username and password that you use for the online school library and for My UEN. The third kind is created content. eMedia also allows any logged in Utah educator to add their own resources to eMedia, okay? So we end up with this cool library. We talked about the login. So let's talk about what exactly do we mean by resources, and we'll take a look at eMedia. So resources can be anything that helps a teacher teach, and then also a smattering of things that help students learn and parents learn and all of that. But the main user is teachers, educators, you. There are videos. If you're familiar with eMedia from the past, this is probably what you remember it for, videos. And yes, we have educational videos. In fact, Chris is on the UIMC, Utah Instructional Media Consortium, who goes through and reviews educational videos every year to bring them in.
And we still have Bill Nye.
And we still have Bill Nye, yeah. Bill Nye is one of the best examples of licensed video resources that we have in the library, yeah. Lesson plans, lots and lots of lesson plans. Web links, activities, professional development resources, videos like the one he's recording right now can be collected in here. All sorts of cool things. So when the easiest way to get started in eMedia, well, first of all, is to get to eMedia. Let me go back to the home, there we go. It is simply eMedia.uen.org, okay? And you can see that right on the front page there are 2 places, one up by the login button and one right here in the middle of the home page, where you can start simply a keyword search. That is just a real simple way to get started. Then I'll show you briefly some other ways to find really good resources. And then once you have explored and you sort of get the feel of what eMedia is like and what's in there, you have the opportunity to also add your own resources, and there are even groups for you to collaborate with other educators around the state, okay? So I am going to log in. If you know your login, go ahead and do so as well. If you haven't really gotten it yet, that's okay. You'll still be able to see some things in eMedia, but in the long run, you'll want that login. All right, let's just click here with a real simple keyword search. I'm going to type in library. You go ahead and search whatever topic one might teach about. Okay, but I'm going to just type library here. I'm going to kind of ignore all of these things for now, because we can do those on the next screen. And simply click search. When you conduct a simple search in eMedia, you will get just a page full of results. So I always kind of take a look then at like, okay, how many results did I get from that keyword? We've got 754 results that come up with the word library. And then from there, I can kind of decide, do I want to narrow down, use a different keyword? Is there something more specific I'm looking for? Or on the left-hand side, there are filters for every search that you conduct. This is where we get an even better idea of what kinds of things you can find in eMedia, okay? For this search of library, I can filter my search by education standards, caveat. This, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to find resources in eMedia when resources have actually been aligned to standards. But a resource does not have to be aligned to be added to eMedia. It is a project, and we are working on it subject area by subject area, and you can help too. But that's the only reason why, sure, start there, but realize there aren't going to be a ton that are aligned at the moment. You can also go by subject area, although library was already our search, education level, material type, so on and so forth. Let's click on material type. For the search of library alone, there are activities, labs, assessments, case studies, data sets, courses, homework assignments, lectures, lecture notes, lessons, lesson plans, lots of stuff. Nearpods, textbooks, open textbooks, okay? This maybe is helping you start to see like, oh, what's in here? Another great way to kind of see what is in there is to go down here to media format. This is where you can see, oh, okay, we've got audio files. Downloadable docs usually means like a PDF, okay? Graphics and photos, interactives, mobile text, HTML, usually means it's either a web resource and it's going to take us out to another website, or it's something created in eMedia, so it's just essentially there on a website. That's what the text HTML is. We mentioned video and all sorts of other things. So I'm going to click on video. You click on whatever you've searched and whatever looks of interest. And you can see that right away it's going to narrow down our search results. So from 700 whatever to 161 that have a keyword library and are labeled as video, okay? And then from there, you can continue to narrow down. You can add as many filters as you want, or you can just sort of start to browse and figure out what's there. So on the right-hand side, as I said, you get a little preview of all the different resources that are coming up in this search. So for example, let's take a look at this one here. We've got a little, preview. Not all of them have preview images. Again, we work on that and add them in. This one says that it's copyrighted, but because it apparently was either given to UEN or licensed by UEN, you're good, you can use it in your classroom. What that does tell you though is that you're not gonna be able to remix this and send it off elsewhere, okay? Others that have open, like CC licenses, you can even remix and kind of make it and fine tune it to your own desires. And then you can see there's a little bit of information here. This is professional learning, it was part of the Reimagine Teaching series, and it comes from the Utah State Library. Okay, so you can browse through and kind of see, well, what looks good here, what might I be interested in? And when you find one that looks interesting, you simply click on the title, and you get even more information, okay? You get the full description, if it's endorsed by a group, if it's aligned to standards, or if it's been evaluated, you can see all of that there. This one hasn't been. There are keywords. I'll give you a little hint too. Every keyword is a link. You can go to everything that has the label of Reimagine Teaching on it, for example. And maybe my battery died on this mic. And same over here. You can click and see everything from this provider. When you're finally ready to take a look at what it is, you can click View Resource, and now we're finally there. And this is the resource itself. Now, depending on what you have searched and clicked on, this page could look different. This was a video, and so it took me right to the video. I can play it right here on this screen, or as you can see, I can download it. That's a very small download button. Don't miss it. There are sharing options up along the top. I can save, etc., and I'll talk about that briefly in just a second. Some, when you get to this page, will take you out to an outside website that somebody has recommended, okay? Some of them will pull up a PDF that you can read or you can download. Some of them pull up a lesson plan that's right there, you know, built into eMedia. So it just depends on what kind of resource you have, you know, stumbled across here or searched for. I'm going to go back a page, back to this preview page. I also want to point out that when you are logged in as a Utah educator, you have additional tools that you can utilize with each resource that you find. Okay, so underneath the title of every object, if you're logged in, you can give resources a 5-star review. And back on our search page, you can actually filter by rating and see what people liked the best. Ooh, this is a good one. I agree. This is the Countering Misinformation in Utah Classrooms presentation presented by Naomi Watkins and Robert Austin from the State Office of Education, and it's fabulous.
I've seen it, I agree.
Yeah. And so in this case, that actually helped us a lot to kind of go by rating. Again, the more people that rate, the more we can kind of rely on those ratings. And it's, I mean, it's not new, but for us, using it, it's a little newish. Okay. If I click on the resource again, you can also see that if you're logged in, you can actually leave comments about the resources. Hey, I loved this. This is what I used it for. Or, you know, this is okay. This is how I would change it. And that's acceptable as well. You can see right under the preview image how many people have looked at the resource, how many people have downloaded it. That may or may not be helpful. Kind of depends on when it was added to the library, okay? All sorts of things. And then I think the biggest thing is the next time you're interested in finding this resource, you don't want to have to go through that search again, and I don't want to have to download everything and have some other separate file. So if you are logged in, you should also see a Save button. And I can click there, and you can see I've got all sorts of files and things that I've set up. If not, you can create a new folder, and you can curate your own favorite resources within eMedia. And once you've done that, you can click on your profile up here and go to My Items, and you can see a full list, there it is, of all of the things that you've saved and all the folders you've created. I've got a lot because I've messed with it and done presentations a lot. So that's a great way to save things. Okay, we're just about out of time, so I want to give you some really cool tips beyond just a keyword search. Because sometimes you think, I don't even know what's here. I don't even know what to look for. So, across the top of every page, there are several tabs. The Discover tab can take you to just a general outline of all of the resources, the topic areas, the material types. That might kind of let you know, where do I want to get started and what exists here in this library. You can also click on Discover and go to some favorite collections. So collections are curated groups of resources that my team has put together at UEN. For example, recently we worked with USBE to curate brand new USBE parent guides. So if you've got parents who are looking to understand what their child is supposed to be learning at a certain grade level, we've gathered them in a collection. You can also see that we have a monthly highlights collection that allows you to see, some things that have to do with like current holidays and things like that. What do you see, Chris?
That's the one I was just getting to watch.
Oh, both of those, I think.
Yeah, the October highlights is one of the favorites for my librarians because it's just got such a rich assortment of things that you can pick up quickly to show kids in the library that has to do with holidays, the indigenous people for, yesterday, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And all of the different things is so you don't have to go search, and so many great ideas, great resources to share with teachers. I love those collections.
Awesome. You can also click on Discover at the top of the page, and you can look for things by provider, who created it. It's okay. Some things are listed under a provider like Reimagine Teaching, and that doesn't really help you know which organization created it. So anyway, but it gives you some. Now, my favorite way to find things is through hubs. Hubs are sort of like mini web pages that have many collections and many resources all surrounding a particular topic or content area. And I see lots actually that you would be very interested in. First of all, on the left-hand side, if you're like, I heard Katie, but I don't get it, there's a Getting Started with eMedia Hub with all kinds of training videos to help you understand how to get going. Pre-Media has preschool level videos, yay, for our little kids. Ta-da! The online school library has its own hub. Let me click on that briefly. It has an overview of what this hub is about with links out to the online school library and preschool path. It has an overview of tools that you can click through. It has one-pagers about the various tools that exist in the online library. It has videos. Who's that? Oh. Danny's interview with Davina. Here are the scavenger hunts I mentioned. And then, of course, the reason this mini web page is even in eMedia is the collections. Collections of resources that have to do with this bigger topic. And some of these are small because we're just getting going, and some of them are humongous. But you can go through and search for resources about library work in various different ways. By, content area, grade level, tool. And then, I mentioned briefly, you can actually, if you're logged in, join groups. Share resources with other librarians, have discussions with them. There's a lot more to that, but we're not going to get into. But let me go back. In addition to that one, UEN Litflix. Did you know that there's a program on UEN TV that shows movies that were based on historic books? And there are resources within this hub to help you teach the topics that go along with each of the movies and books that are highlighted. And our newest one that you'd be interested in is the Library Media Hub. And I'm working with Davina on this one. It's just started. So there are a good handful of resources there now and some links out to helpful things. And this will grow. We are going to work together and get even more collections in there. And we're working on the best way to get the newsletter going. Right now there's just one click for September, but we'll keep embedding them a little better, professional learning. So I find that the hubs are an excellent place to start because you can dive into topics and resources that you might not have really even thought to look for without the hub saying, look at me. Okay? So lots and lots to explore. And I haven't really talked much about groups or the fact that you can create using this create button. That's a deeper lesson. But I hope at least this gets you into thinking about the types of resources that are there for you, library videos and lesson plans and professional learning resources, and the fact that you can be the key for the teachers at your school to know that this exists and to help them get in and find lesson plans and resources as well. Okay,